Whoops, sorry if you're listening to this. This is Anne's talking about this being a beta version and forgetting to record. I'm not beating myself over any of this, guys. I'm just not. So yeah, that Caroline will make life easier, yeah, to be able to have it on your phone, yeah.
That will be fabulous. I don't want to hold questions. This can be my last one as well, but I sort of hinted to you in the email that and I'm loving the fact that this overthinking, because I'm overthinking the process of doing it, and now we're going to address overthinking, so that's just perfect. But I guess part of it is when you're asking your subconscious mind to give you ideas on what to do, and I'm not always getting the same thing, and sometimes I'm not really getting anything, and then I stress over, I'm not getting a clear direction. What do I do?
Okay, all right. So that's your conscious mind getting in the way.
Yes.
When you are doing that, that is literally your conscious mind going, and that's a sign that you will know that, because you're unconscious. It's like your intuition, yeah? It's kind of like something you can access. You can't turn on or off, you know, you can't go intuition, blah. You just kind of know, yeah? You know, it's, you kind of, you want something and it's like, oh, I intuitively know. So it's not like that black and white. So when you find yourself, oh, I can't think of it, you go, ah, that's my overthinking. That's my conscious brain just gone into that kind of like way of thinking about it. And so it's just go listen with it, knowing that things will be different and they're meant to be different. So sometimes as you listen to the audios, you know, you will have, these are generic enough for you to bring in any trigger to it. That's the real kind of, I suppose, power in this, is in that I wanted that first week for people to realize we all generally, if we haven't done the work like this before, tend to think that it's the triggers in our lives. You know, it's the husband, it's the job, it's the whatever it might be, it's, you know, and it's designed to be generic enough that you will use it for different things that come up. And because of that, different things will come up, even if you're working on the same one, Caroline. You know, I had somebody working today and she's doing work with me, and it's to do with past like massive trauma before. And she said, look, I said, how'd you go? And she said, I listened to the audio for 10 days and then it's healed and I don't need it anymore. And I'm like, that's perfect. Like how, like that is still, and that's a really good result to listen, to do an audio, listen to it 10 days, have some major trauma actually resolved, and then you put it aside. Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm sharing that because sometimes some audios you will need 2 weeks of, other audios you'll be like, oh, this is not a bigger problem for me. You're never going to have all of these programs exactly equal. I've never met anyone who's like, you know, it's not divided out like a cake. Does that, you know what I mean? You might be a massive overthinker, whereas, you know, someone else, Jan, you might be an overthinker, but you might be running avoidance or whatever it happens to be. So there'll be different audios, there'll be different ones that you like, that really resonated with me. And the other one, oh, that's not as big a deal with me. Does that answer the question? It's not stress when something doesn't come up, and yet to have things, different things come up, perfectly normal, absolutely perfectly normal. But feel free, don't free, you're not limited to 2 questions. I'm here for an hour. And the thing is, but no, the thing is, you know, it's like that thing if you're at a training course, yeah, somebody asks something and then someone else needs to hear it, but they mightn't have even thought that they needed to ask that. That's always my proviso. Like, I'm a pain in the bum when I go to those training courses. I ask the questions for half the room, because I'm a what if brain. I'm like, what if? I'm like, oh my God, the Irish woman never shut up. But then sometimes people come up and go, oh, you've actually asked, you know, the questions that sometimes people were. So please don't ever feel like there's like a limit on that. Because
if no one else is putting their hand up yet, just the first one being change, I'm presuming, is to prepare us for the idea of starting the course and realizing that we can change. That's the most important thing.
100%, because if you don't get that, and you know, you guys are on the course now, you might be going like, of course I get that, but not everybody does. Yeah, lots of you, when they come, they're like, I have this forever, or I've been told stuff. Like, you hear me saying this over time. I have got lots of clients who've been counselors or psychologists or psychiatrists, and they've been told they have a problem based on something that they can't change. And they've carried this around with them for ages. And so I've learned over time, that's, you know, I've missed that step with some people before years ago. And then I wondered, you know, halfway in it, why is the results not as good as they could be? Because deep down, they didn't believe they could change. I hadn't picked up on it. So I know, like, group wise, I'm like, nah, We got to start. We got to have that knowledge of knowing that we can actually change, because nothing else is going to work if you don't start with at least some level of belief as regards being able to change. And then we go from there. Because no matter what it is, whether it's a habit, whether it's anxiety, whatever, you're absolutely right. That's the foundation of being able to actually make the changes.
I feel very comfortable from the audios that change is entirely possible and have done it before and
100%.
totally fine. But it was asking things like ask your subconscious for one action that you must take. And that's where and how important is that to carry on, or can I now move on to week one? Because
you can move on to week one. And sometimes that action will come up as something during the week, like as a thought in your head. You could be out and about and it could be like, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be in that given moment. It's sometimes you'll be like putting the clothes on the line and you're like, oh, you know what? So it comes up then. Yeah. So what you're really doing is creating a relationship with your unconscious. We have this knowledge within, but this is about being able to make that relationship so much easier. So it's like you intuitively get it, so you can just go with the flow so much easier. So just life becomes easier. This is really what this is about. Yeah. Like for all of us, like that's the key goal.
I think I had a similar, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think, I had a similar question to Caroline, like how do I know when to move on? I only actually listened to last week's audio for the first time last night, and then I listened to it again this morning, but I kept falling asleep. For starters, I kept falling asleep, so I don't know that I can have completely heard the whole thing. But same as Caroline, I feel like my conscious mind was going, oh, what do I pick? What action do I pick to change, blah, blah, blah. And then I was unsure as when to move on from last week's one into the new one.
Okay, so look at, it's kind of, if you've only listened to it twice, and you'll hear me say this, there's certain things I say over and over again, and you'll probably be tired of me saying it. And if anyone who's worked with me a long time ago, you've heard me say it a million times. The absolute result of getting the work done, it doesn't matter where you start, doesn't matter how big the problem, it doesn't matter how long you've had it. All of that is truly irrelevant to me. What genuinely counts is listening to the audio so as you can reprogram your mind. Now, Shani, you're shaking your head. You know that. You were a live example of that, yeah? Jan, you would agree as well. Would you? Like listening to the audio is an integral part of the change, right? So if you've listened to it twice, maybe you need to listen to it a few more times and then do it. There's no rush, right? You bought the beta version. You have 6 months access to this, so it's not like a race. And these calls are generic. So there'll be people joining this when you guys are on week 7, they'll be on week 1. So you know what I mean? It's not like it's only a week 1 question or it's only a week whatever question. Right. Not at all, yeah. And as the questions come up, if I notice there's constant questions, I'll probably do an FAQ. That'll give me the material to go, all right, look, these are some of the common questions that people tend to ask, but again, I don't want it to be just that. I like people coming, I like that connection. So if you've only listened to it twice, I would say maybe do it a little bit more, because there's no rush. It's not a race. And then sometimes, to be honest, also it's intuitively, as you get into the program, you will realize, you go, all right. You know what, there's a time when you'll have a number of audios and you look at them and you go, all right, tonight's the night for avoidance, or tonight's day is the day for negative expectancy. Because and again, this is you kind of building up your relationship with you to be able to do that.
I absolutely find that, Ian, especially from the recordings that I used to have with you a couple of years ago, is it would really depend on what mood I was in that day as to what one I needed to use. So even with your new recording this week, I thought, oh, how great that we've got a new one, but this is even better because I can listen to one in the morning and one in the afternoon and still be working on both of those. It doesn't matter, that there is multiple ones. I could still go back and listen to the first one.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Yeah. This is why it's good to have these questions. Yeah, like I don't want you to be like at home, what ifing, because that defeats the whole purpose of the program. Yeah, that's the what ifing is what we want to get away from.
That's why I was worried when I was starting to get anxious about what I needed to think about or come up. Yes.
When I got your emails, I was like, Caroline needs the program. She's in the right place. It's all good.
I so know, and I'm very excited that I'm on it. I guess one of the other things that came in the book, and I think you've mentioned before, is that often, like that first download, I would love to see what I wrote. I don't know if we can, the work.
I check and see. Yeah, they're the technical things that kind of, yeah.
But I guess I think a classic comment you made is that people usually come to you with what they perceive as their problem, and 99% of the time it's actually not, it's something else. Do we gain any insight into that as we go through? Because that's something, I don't know, if we were one-on-one with you, we may get that feedback that in actual fact, you know, it's not your insomnia, or it's not your whatever. It might be something else, or does it not really matter as long as we're going through the process?
I think it doesn't matter once you're going through the process, but also this is the opportunity in these calls. This is again a key reason for having something like this, because you can ask something, because once you're okay with sharing it, you know, and you ask something and you kind of go, listen, blah, 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 I will tell you the very same as I would as if we were in one-on-one. So you know, the same kind of deal, you know. It's like, and that's sometimes how you will arrive at that insight yourself, but it can be based on, you can ask something and it's like, I'll just tell you honestly the same as we would do as if we were just you and I in the call, whoever it was. And then it tends to come out. And yeah, mostly people come for one thing, and you know, it's like, and sometimes in one-on-one I can see it straight up, and sometimes it might take me a session or two to go, that's not what's going on at all. This really is what's going on. And I think over the years I've probably got a little bit, you know, quicker at getting it, or kind of better at just, you know, which sometimes people don't like. I have to be honest, it doesn't suit everybody. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. Sometimes people don't like that, because it's like, I really want to like adamantly to say the problem is this, where the problem is not that. The problem really is something else. But I'm not doing my job. I'm not your friend. I love you dearly, but I'm not your friend. I'm here to actually be truthful and honest and come from my skill set, as opposed to tell people what they want to hear.
Well, ultimately, I don't mind what you tell me. If I can end up sleeping energetic and whatever, I can't even remember all the things I was writing. Yes. So no, we'll just see how it goes. Cool.
Perfect. Any other questions? Anything else anyone wants to bring up? No?
Don't have a question as so much as, I guess, just how nice it's been to almost be more responsible this time round for doing the work and trying to figure out, you know, what's going on that day or why I'm feeling a particular way. I think when we come and see you in a one-on-one, I know I used to feel like, oh, I'm just going to see Anne, she's going to fix me, it's going to be so great. Where now I really feel like it's almost that extra step where we're really doing it for ourselves, and we're building that independence of looking in and having to do the work without someone there kind of really guiding us. Like, we've got all of these excellent resources that you've given, but it almost takes a little bit more time this time to go, okay, what am I getting out of this? Am I doing this right? Am I overthinking this process? Probably. And then, you know, that's when you talk into more videos, and it always seems that you know exactly what we need with the, you know, the next topic that comes up. But I'm really enjoying the element of there being so much homework, I guess, for me to really kind of guide myself on this journey and really, see where we end up, which is a really, really exciting part to kind of see how that progress has happened over a few years.
Yeah, perfect. Look, I think, to be honest, I genuinely have a big vision, and my big vision is that, like, anxiety is, I don't have the figures off the top of my head, but I've done some research on it, and it's horrible. It's horrific. It's going in the wrong direction. And this is even without COVID. Yeah. So we can all blame COVID, but no. It's really and truly, like, I can't remember, it's two out of, I can't remember. I'm not going to say the figures out, but I literally, when you look at the figures, you go like, wow, okay. And so what generally is happening is we are working with our conscious mind, and we're generally being given medication. They're the two things that are like broadly kind of like given out in the Western society. I don't know about outside of the Western world, but that's generally what's happening. Yeah. And if it was working, we would see the figures going down, and the figures are actually going up. So my thing is, I really have this vision of people being able to, you know, we're so technology kind of available at the moment that we can actually log into something, watch the videos, listen to the audios, and then have some level of contact as well to ask support. Because I you know, I really do believe that it's that is possible. I think anxiety has become so like almost like normal, which is an awful thing to say, but that's what it feels like, yeah, that we can't just keep doing the same thing if it's not working, and we can't just, you know, it'll be like 2 years to be into a psychologist if things keep going the way they're going, and it still doesn't seem to like hit the mark per se. It gives you tools and makes you feel better and breathing better, but it doesn't seem to get to the core of it, because the core seems to be at that unconscious level. So I think, you know, I kind of have this vision of like, you know, it's like, and we've got a younger generation coming up, which are anxious. Like it seems, you know, it seems to be, it's the reverse, you know what I mean? It's not like when you get older, you get more anxious. Now it seems to be younger people are getting more anxious. So I really, really, really like, that's my inspiration or aspiration, is to have something that people can actually connect into and really work on it. Imagine if they could get rid of 70% of their anxiety themselves. And if they need something for the top 30, who cares? But you know, that's kind of kind of like my vision. And you guys, I'm very grateful, because you know, you were at the beginning. I really, that's what I'm you know, I'm guided to do that. Let's call it, let's be honest. That's it. That's kind of like my mission. And I'm very, you know, you guys are at the very, very beginning, the forefront of this. And all I've got to do is like, you know, put it out there, learn my marketing, get my feedback, make it better. All I ask you guys is, if you like it, share it with others, because I don't have millions of dollars at the moment as a marketing budget, but I believe I'll be taken care of. I always am taken care of. So, you know, if it's working for you, then we share it, and then that's we get, because everyone's lives is better if the planet is less. You know, the shop assistant who's not anxious is going to serve you better. The petrol attendant is going to be nicer. The person in the bank is going to be nicer. Do you know what I mean? Like it has that, like, if we have less anxiety, it has that kind of flow out effect, you know, of the world actually being a better place for all of us. And for kids, if we have kids or grandkids. So that's kind of like, you know, I'm truthfully heartfelt, like grateful, because I know these programs work. Like, guys, you really got to know that I would not be here doing this. If anything, I could have done this probably 2 years ago, but the perfectionist in me and also the ethical person in me couldn't do it, because I can only sell something when I know, like really know it's going to work. And then I can sell anything to anybody. But if I don't know it's going to work, I can't do it. You know what I mean? So that's the goal. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I'm all stitchy. I've been out in the sun today a little bit. So it's like, if I'm sitting doing this, it's just, sorry.
I'm really excited at the fact that you are so positive of, or that you know that changing it is possible, because I think I had almost come to the point of just going, okay, well, this is just how I am, and I need to kind of accept it and learn to live with it and work with it, and kind of know, okay, I am an anxious person and this is how I work with it. So I'm really excited that it can change, because I think I have kind of felt, I think I have been one of the people that feels like, no, this is how I'm going to be. I was on have been on and off anti-anxiety medication for the last 4 years, and I went off it at the beginning of this year, very slowly, over 6 months, and I was only on a low dose, but I've definitely noticed that since I've been off it, that the anxiety's been worse, combined with being in menopause and having low estrogen as well, I'm guessing. But yeah, I think I was almost at the point of going, okay, well, either I just go back on the tablets, or I just accept that this is how I am, and I try and find a way to work with it. So it's exciting to kind of think that, maybe I don't have to do that. Maybe I can change.
Jan, what would you answer to that? What would you say to somebody who says that?
Oh, yeah, I'd say that the pills are, I mean, I was on the pills, and I went off them and went on them and went off them and went on them, and I'd like to think that beyond the pills anyway, that change really can occur. And and I loved it when you said a bit earlier, people come in telling you what they think's wrong with them. And I went in, into your office and I said, look, I've got an addiction to sugar. Help me get rid of my addiction to sugar. And it was nothing to do with sugar. It was nothing to do with, well, maybe the eating was a comfort thing later on. But yeah, certainly where I moved from that time, the depression and the low feeling about how I finished my career, which just was devastating. And I was introducing myself as a devastated, broken person to everyone I met and telling myself I was that person. Well, I'm not that person. I had a fabulous career and I introduced myself to people saying, wow, let me tell you about my great career I had. And I never thought that would happen. I always thought that I was going to have this big victim sign and feel sorry for me, feel sorry for me. But no, the change is tangible, it's real, and yeah, it's me now.
Yeah. And that's why I asked Jan, because, you know, you wouldn't have believed, like, you would resonate with that story, as in, like, feeling like I'm stuck with this now, and that's just who I am, and I just have to kind of soldier on, like, and that's even me being positive or optimistic where Jan was at when she came to see me initially. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just me saying it. Not at all.
Yeah.
Jan, I read your story this afternoon and it was very moving. I was very admired where you had your story, your journey.
Yeah, that was lovely. I felt quite privileged that Anne wanted to revisit me and put the story in the book. Didn't feel exposed, but I just felt privileged to share it.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah, they're real stories, like real people, real stories, you know. Yeah, and I just, like, you know, for me it's like, it's exciting because it's like there's other people, you are so not alone. There's so many people who are like, oh, I'm stuck with this, I have to have this forever, I've got to do whatever. And it's like, you know, no you don't, but it's like, it's just, that's, I get it, why that kind of becomes, you know what I mean, a way of thinking. So yeah, it's exciting to know that no you don't, not at all. It takes time, right? It's not a magic wand. Sometimes with hypnosis, the downside of it is people think it's a magic wand. It's not a magic wand, it's repetition. You've got to do work, you know. So everyone, like, who's worked with me, who's on this call, knows there's work involved in it. You can't, it's not just like cha-cha. And it's not meant to be like that. If someone had that power, that would be really scary. Yeah, someone could actually walk down the street and do that to your brain. That would be wrong. You've got to go in and you've got to want the change, and then you've got to do the work that actually make it happen, you know. That's, I know that, like, right across the board. Anything else?
I was really interested in what Shanna was saying, because I was thinking of, I've sort of finished week one, but I haven't got to the audio part. And I only just did that this afternoon. And and I was thinking, oh, look, this would be really good for to go through with my husband as well. And I wasn't sure if that was possible or legal or viable, but from what Shanna was saying, that sounds like a really good idea, to be able to do that and go through the audio every night together.
At the very least, he's going to be calm. At the very least, something will go in, you know. And it's like, but obviously you got to ask his permission to do it. You can't just put it on.
No, I talked to him after I finished week one and said,
just checking, yeah.
And he said, yeah, that sounds okay.
Yeah.
Because what he's been involved in for, you know, he's very involved in U3A, and that's just finished. And I said, oh, well, you've got time now. So I said, maybe you'd like to do this. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop him listening to the audio at night. And then, you know,
you
know, I would say, like, don't push it. Let him do it. Like, that's the other thing sometimes I find with partners, and, you know, me as well. I used to be the biggest culprit of this. I'd be like, to Nigel, I'd find something new. You've got to do this. The poor bugger, you've got to do
Gotta
this.
read this book, yes.
So I've stopped doing that, or at least mostly stopped doing it. I can't say I've given up completely, but I have. He doesn't have to do as many crazy things as he used to before, because So I think it's like when they want it. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. If it opens the door to their thinking, then that's a bonus. Anything else anyone want to ask? Any comments? Anything exciting? Anything not exciting? Anyone want to share the biggest thing that they want to get out of the program?
I saw you.
suppose-
Sorry.
Yeah, Joan.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm 63 and I get told all the time by my sister, basically, that I'm a martyr because, I do everything for everybody else and I never say no to anybody. So I'd really like to just get maybe some confidence in it because I do get anxious and that too. I think it's fear of rejection if I say no to anybody. So I really want to be able to, my girlfriend says you can say no as easily as you can say yes, but it doesn't seem to be that way. And I was in that thing going, well, I'm 63. How am I going to change now? I've been like this forever. So it's just making me really hopeful that I will be able to do it. And I am on the medications and I have the therapy, I have the psychiatrist and the psychologist and all of this stuff. And it's been going on for nearly 2 years and it's just not getting any better. So, yeah. And I mean, I agree, even with the, I go, yep, I know I have to, yep, but I don't do it.
Yeah. So that's the good thing about, like, literally this is like watching the videos and listening to the audios. And I can't remember what week it is because I changed the weeks around. Like that week those weeks are like how I'm intending to do it. I could flip some of those around depending on what comes up or whatever. But I know overthinking is next. There's a certain logic in that, but then some of the latter part of it, it doesn't really matter whether it's this or this. I've tried to make it in a logical sequence, but there's the week which is about being over responsible. And, that would be your like key, audio that you listen to probably over and over again. Yeah. Because
see the anxious anxiety, all of it is me.
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And the thing is, it's really a case of, knowing that you are actually saying no to somebody, because when you say yes to somebody else, when you should say no, you're saying no to you. So you are actually really good at saying no. It's just you're saying no to yourself.
With myself, yes.
Husband said, I can't say no. Well, if you can say yes, you have to be able to say no, because when you say yes, you say no to something else. It's just humanly impossible to not. Yeah, like it's just we don't think of it as that. We just see what we say yes to rather than what we say no to. Does that make sense?
Yep.
They know all the time. It's just you're saying no to you. And sometimes when we do that week, we'll be talking about things like self-worth. And having, sometimes we take on beliefs when we're in our childhood that we don't actually have a right to actually ask for our needs to be met.
I think I have the typical middle child syndrome from that, so always wanting approval. So I want everybody to like me.
Okay. Yeah. And you can see how that then comes up, like, but the thing is, then your sense of like self-love is based on the whim of somebody else. What if somebody is nasty to you because they're having a bad day, nothing to do with what you did, you know what I mean, or didn't do?
Oh yeah, but I take everything personally, yes. So yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's good, because we'll be working on that. Keep going with it. Will be like the second half of I know it's in the second half of the program. You'll be like, all right, this is my week, this is my audio, this is what
I must be bad because my niece paid for it and enrolled me.
Yes, I remember. Yes, your niece, I think your niece came to book launch.
Yes, she did, her and her husband.
Yeah. So, okay, so you'd like to get out of it that you're like that you're saying, being able to say no to others really is what is, if we were to kind of sum that up. Is that right? not needing the need to be liked. You know, if we were to go in and like look at it as a,
Yeah, there's lots of things, but that's one of the main ones that I really would like to yeah.
to unpackage. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really revisiting my work with you, and because of my insomnia, it's just out of control. And that's when I'm good. I'm good through the day. I'm upbeat. I'm positive. But yeah, it's the stuff that just rattles around in my head of a night time. I've started to do yoga before I go to bed now.
Okay.
And what I'll do the yoga and I'll listen to the audio that you've given us. Yeah, there's just all this stuff that's creeping back into my head since I worked with you in 2019. And it's not the career part and my career transition from working full time to retirement. We went around that block successfully, I believe. Yeah. Other things have happened in my life, and balcony at 3 o'clock in the morning and just watch all the drunks walking home, and I'm white.
And to answer that, sometimes what's happened is when we're, you know, I think when we go, like you came to me for something and we resolve that, and you like that's in your words, like that's done. But then sometimes in a year or two afterwards, something else comes up. You know, it's kind of like I've been doing this journey for so long, and it's just something comes up, and it's like, oh, okay. But now it's not like, oh, it's a disaster. What am I going to do? It's like, oh, next thing to grow from. You know, it's the next thing that comes up. It's the next thing to heal. And that is literally where I come from. It's like, oh yeah, it's just like next layer of the onion. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of like my kind of take on it when something comes up. And I don't know whether anyone else knows this at the moment, but there seems to be, it's like there's something going on energetically at the planet at the moment. If somebody has stuff they haven't resolved, it genuinely seems to be on steroids. And I'm not into that stuff, as in I believe it, but I don't understand it. I don't know it. I don't have time to research it, but I do know, like I've met so many people, and it's like, you know, if there's something that's not kind of hasn't been healed, it's like in people's face. So I don't know if it's like, you know how time seems to be speeding up. I mean, I can't be the only person on the planet that thinks the weeks are shorter.
No, the older we get, faster time goes.
I don't know. It's like, but it's just, there's just at the moment, there just seems to be a lot of people. It's just like stuff's coming up, you know, it's like, and I think that's good. So it's just this next thing. And as we do this, Jan, this should be able to actually sort it out, because it's regardless of the context. Yeah, this is like context free per se.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, absolutely. So okay, so for you it's sleep. You'd like to be, yeah, and whatever. Okay. Anybody else want to?
There's something you said earlier resonated with me about being a fixer. And I tend to be a fixer, and I am conscious of it. And, you know, there's been an issue all year between two of my children, which broke my heart. And yes, tried to be impartial and tried to recognise where each was coming from, but offering advice, which was probably not necessarily the right thing to do. And I suppose the last few months I'm taking a lot more of a standoff approach, and it's your issue, you talk to each other, etc., etc. But it's not my natural, hasn't been my natural way, and I'm finding it hard to stay back.
Yeah.
But I know that's what I need to do.
Yeah, and one of the weeks, whether it's next week or the week after, I'm just talking about our general philosophy in life, because our philosophy is really critical to actually having a bigger view as regards how we fix these problems or how we resolve them. Yeah, and we don't even think about it. We don't necessarily put our philosophy and our anxiety or our problems together, but they really do mesh in. Yeah, and in something like if two people are having, you know, a go at each other, it's really understanding, you know, whether or not things happen for a reason or it's all random? Well, I would hope that most people on the program, if not everybody, thinks happens for a reason, even if we don't like that. But it's either all random and it's a scary world and nothing means anything, and that's a really like dark place to live. But if things happen for a reason, then it's like, you know, things happen, and it's like, it's sometimes it's that person's soul journey with the other person's soul journey, and they've got to like, but then again, you've got something to learn from it too. And maybe your part of it is the learning of actually like not, you know, not actually getting your hands dirty. And it's easier said than done when it's your kids or somebody that you love, but it's still, do you know what I mean? There's always something in a big event, when something massive happens and it really gets us, there's something going on that we're actually meant to get from it. And if we don't get it from it, the same thing will happen again, but more intense and more intense and more intense, until eventually it's like my head's going to explode. And that's the thing to realize, you know, when something comes up, it's like, oh, let me just work out what this is actually about, so then I don't have to repeat it. I was speaking to one of my friends, who, yeah, good friend, and she was someone with a client, and she's like, I can't get, you know, this client is just, she's very ill, she thinks she's going to die, and she just does not want to change. And I said to her, well, tell her what happens if there's such a thing as reincarnation and she comes back and has to do it again. She goes, that'll get her. That'll get her to change. I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Like, resolve it now. Because you know what? If there is no reincarnation, well, there's no reincarnation. Who cares? You've resolved it. And if there is reincarnation, then what I'm saying is very wise, because it's actually going to happen again, but probably more intense. So either way, things are a gift. And I've had melanoma, and I've had lots of, you know, horrible things happen, but they weren't really horrible things, horribly human wise, but not necessarily, there were, you know, gifts now, but they weren't gifts at the time. So I can say it like, you know, I'm not just, you can't just say, oh, and you've had a privileged life and you've got no idea. That's not the case. And that's, you know, so I'm saying it from here, not just some BS that I've read, you know, some pop site somewhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell myself that conflict is the opportunity for change.
Well, the best thing you can do, to be honest,
Stay out of it.
listen to the audios.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, listen to the audios, because it's one thing telling yourself consciously. If telling yourself consciously worked, then any times we're having a panic attack, we'd be able to say no big deal. And if that's not how it is, yeah. Who else? Anyone else? Luella, you haven't said much tonight. You've been there right in the center.
I just like listening, and I get a bit shy too. So I'm like, yeah.
Oh, and don't put me on the spot. Stop doing that.
Like, it just reminds me of like being at uni, and I'll be the one just be like, yeah. And then they'd be like, any questions? I'm like, huh?
So you and I get on well, Luella. I'd be asking all the questions and you'd be going, oh, like that.
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you. I related to the insomnia though. Like, I've been going through insomnia lately the past week, but I think it's my body rebelling to change.
Okay.
And I'm aware of that. So I'm like, okay, just ride the wave out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I
just make a note. I always say it I not always say it, but I say it generally, like our unconscious minds needs to know that these audios are for our highest good. No, it's about our survival. I don't know if I put that in the last audio, but I will start putting that in, because sometimes we get that resistance to change.
Yeah.
Status quo, it doesn't want to actually grow, you know, and that's unconscious mind needs to know that.
I remember when I was working on Avoid You.
Isn't it? Like, honestly, it can come up with it's like a 2-year-old kid sometimes that comes up with resistance just for the sake of resistance. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I always think of it as a tap. So you got it, like the brown stuff has to get out first before the clean water comes through.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Shanna Carline.
I am struggling with letting the unconscious, you know, come to the fore too, I must admit, because I'm the kind that goes, can't hypnotize me, my mind's too strong, you know, so, and I try really hard listening, you know, and doing it, but it's still a struggle for me.
Don't try so hard, just do it.
Okay.
Lucy, don't try. It's not
Okay.
something you need to put everything to just do it, and don't beat yourself up if you get 5 minutes in and your mind wanders. Just bring your mind back.
Okay.
Good deal. And the thing is, you know, can you watch a movie and actually temporarily forget about what's happening in the room?
I can read a book and do that.
Okay, so you can be hypnotized then.
Okay.
Hypnotization really is about actually getting involved in something and actually forgetting about what's around you. That's what it is in essence.
Yep.
And most people can do it on some level, whether it's TV or a book or at a concert.
I was surprised, Anne, how I relaxed into it so quickly. And it's been since 2019 that you and I worked together. And just listening to that audio and the lovely image of picking a color, and in that audio, I actually picked up straight away something that I can do for the sleep thing when I go to bed and I start thinking about all the stuff that just is rattling around. I'm now going to think of that big dial you gave me, and I'm going to dial it back. and that just might be a tool that might work for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And that's what I mean about intuition sometimes coming outside of it. Doesn't have to be in the audio. Some of it in the audio, sometimes afterwards you realize, and it's like, do you know what I mean? Just because you didn't get it in that moment, it can come afterwards or it can come during it. Yeah. Yeah. So your mind knows to do that. It just had temporarily forgotten about how we can actually turn that down.
yeah. But I just enjoyed the audio very much, very much.
I completely agree, Jan. I felt like it was catching up with an old friend again. It was so nice to instantly feel that relaxation. And it's funny, Joan, hearing you say that initially it's hard to get into it. I was saying to the group just when I dialed in that I've started listening to the audios with my husband when we go to sleep. And he has a tendency to overthink. And it's interesting because it was probably the second or third night and I was describing the feeling that I get when I go into hypno, and he was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel that. And I just said, just relax into it. Just don't overthink it. Don't try and control the feeling. And yeah, it's been really great to kind of see him come on that journey as well, because I know that it's just incredible. It feels like you've had a great night's sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And it's just, you know, it's like riding a bike, you know, it's you just learn to do it. It is really, it's not, especially if you've been running anxiety and you've never done anything like this before. It's a new thing, you know, it's like, or a new language, it's just new. But don't try too much. That's the thing, like just let it be. Because when you try, then you're fighting, the trying is actually fighting against it in a funny sort of way.
I tried meditation. I was like, I can't do this. I was thinking about taking the garbage out, or, you know, I tried like 3 times. I went to this course and I was like, no, can't do it.
Yeah. Just listen to it every night and you'll get there. I've actually, yeah, truthfully. Yeah.
No, cool.
Caroline, I think, oh, you said insomnia. Yeah. So it's a bit of insomnia happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out. I think I've probably got multiple things. But insomnia is the thing that's probably been a pain since I've been mid-teens, but it hasn't really bothered me until the older I'm getting, the more I feel the lack of sleep. So sort of, you know, in my 20s and 30s, I survived without very much sleep. And but I did used to worry about things like the other lady was saying, I would stress about stuff at night. It just seemed so much worse. And of course, in the day, even if I'd write it down, I go, oh, well, that's nothing. I shouldn't have, you know, easy to deal with, that sort of thing. But I do have massive problems. There's too much clicking over. Definitely. And then it makes you tired, then it makes you lacking in energy. So then you don't feel like you want to do the running or the swimming or the kayaking that you know you enjoy and would be good for you. But so you sort of get in a little bit of a cycle. So and then occasionally I'd have a few glasses of wine because that would make me fall asleep better, quicker, but I won't sleep well. So I know that doesn't work either. So just that sort of round and round. So I don't know if there's something underlying everything, but the sleep is the one thing that has an impact on my life every day.
Okay. I suppose with sleep, I mean, maybe you guys have done this already. Have you had a sleep study just to make sure that there isn't anything like physically happening?
Yeah, I've had 4 sleep studies. It's only very mild sleep apnea. I wear a mouth guard thing, and they say it's borderline whether I need that. I do grind my teeth, so I still wear that splint. Through all the physiological things, I do kick my legs around a lot, and I take magnesium, and they did try different drugs, but I'm really I get usually some form of horrible reaction to most drugs. They've tried me on for the menopause. They've tried me on because of bad night sweats since the first lot of chemo, and then the second lot of chemo. That was first one was 20 years ago. More recently, 2 years ago. So there are physiological things like the night sweats and the menopause symptoms. So that doesn't help because they wake me and it's very uncomfortable. But
The night sweats are a killer, aren't they? It's been 10 years and I'm still getting them.
yeah,
Oh no, don't say that.
Sorry. It's not fun. They go in winter, but they come back in summer. Mine do.
yeah. Look, I'm trying all different things. I've tried Chinese herbs, and I'm doing that in acupuncture at the moment. It seems to be a slight improvement, but it seems to be almost like even if I have a little sweat and then I start feeling okay, just the fact that I'm awake and I was getting anxious about being awake, and thinking, well, how's my body going to heal again? I don't want to get cancer a third time from the lack of sleep and the lack of, so just
There's negative expectancy in there. There's like, these are the programs. Yeah, this is the context of the programs. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's the ambiguity of not knowing what's going to happen. And you get it. These are like the underlying programs that we run. No, the reason I'm saying is because sometimes, like with sleep, it's just good to eliminate. If there's like, all right, look, there is nothing. So then your brain can go, all right, this is actually emotional. This is mental and emotional. This is something that I can actually like work on this.
Yeah.
That's always my question with sleep. It's like, just get the freaking sleep test on, get it out of the way. And it's like, all right, look, this has got nothing to do with that. This is the fact. This is my brain. Just when we're busy during the day, when we stop, that's the time when it comes up into our conscious awareness of the things that, we haven't done, or that we feel like we should have done, or the things that sometimes we regret we have done. All of the above. Yeah. And that just literally comes in, and then it becomes a mishmash as regards. I think it's overthinking audio would probably be overused.
The timing is perfect, Dan, as well with your program, because the GP and the insurance company, with me being off work, the GP was under pressure. He said, look, I think you're going to need to see a psychiatrist. And I said, well, you've already got me seeing a psychologist, and that hasn't really, it was nice having a few chats, and she, gave me a few little tips, but usually when I see her, I feel fabulous. It seems like a complete waste of time. I'm going, psychiatrist. I said, well, that's just the same, but with heavier drugs, isn't it? And it's not.
Yeah,
it is exactly the same. They just 15 minutes and they give you drugs. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I told the GP that I was starting this course with you, and he said, oh, great. He said, yep, no, do that, and we'll revisit in a few months as to whether I still want you to see a psychiatrist as well. But I was amazed that he actually said, oh yeah, no, that could be really good. So
lots of doctors are actually for hypnosis, because hypnosis is well and truly proven clinically and in scientifically. It's not as popular in Australia, to be honest. It's as we know, it keeps bigger in the UK. But I think over here it's like they know about it. Most of them are quite, it's the doctors that are cynical about that. Then it's like, oh, they probably wouldn't be my doctor, because I'm like, man, you're just so in the closet, But if they're not like open to something that's scientifically proven because it doesn't fit into their paradigm, then that's, that's a whole other problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought I was anxious. Like, my conscious mind tells me I'm not the slightest bit anxious. And then I'm having multiple doctors, and then even my husband going, "You're kidding, aren't you?" Like, yes, you are anxious. Okay.
Remember that statement I said, when you're in the frame, you can't see the picture. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyone want to ask anything else before we finish up? Has this been useful tonight?
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can't wait to listen to the second audio tonight.
Yep. So they come out every Monday night, usually about 8 o'clock. Again, our emails will get better, that kind of technical side of things. Email me and I get back to you. That's the easiest way of doing it. You know, it's coming up to Christmas. I'll be here every second week unless it's like Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or whatever. I haven't worked out those dates yet. But you know what I mean? I know sometimes if you can't make it, you can't make it. If you can, you can. There's no stress because everything that you need, literally you get on the other. But I love seeing you. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, I don't want it to be another stress because I know coming up there's parties and God knows what's, you know. That's cool. That's easy. Just it'll be easy.
And
All right.
I was just gonna say, and sorry, the stuff that I'm hoping to get out of it is to eliminate the constant worrying and overthinking.
Okay.
That's kind of the big one that I'd like to change, basically to the point of paralysis. So just overthinking future decisions, not being, and just like thinking of every possible outcome, every possible solution. If I do this and this happens, if I do this and this happens, and then it just gets to the point where I'm like, I can't think one more thing. I can't answer any messages. I just want to curl up into a ball and kind of,
Okay.
So that's, I guess that's what I would like. I would like to shift that. I would like to not be that person and giving my power away within that as well, because I then, which probably comes back to the self-worth, but I guess that's.
Yep. No, that's what the reason I wanted to check was because I want to make sure that if you guys said something tonight that I haven't thought about or haven't included, then I've got the option of actually putting it into future audios. Yeah. So I will ask that on a regular basis, just in case somebody has something that I'm like, I never thought about that, or I haven't encountered that. That's an easy one to actually slot in somewhere. But there's nothing you've said tonight that is not already included in the program. So that in different places. And what I've really taken away from tonight as well is on the overthinking. I'll do the core of it in the next session, but then you may find it sprinkled throughout other programs as well, because you can't have anxiety if you don't overthink. And overthinking is, I never use always or never, almost. It's like they're the two words because there'll always be someone. But honestly, overthinking and anxiety, I've yet to meet someone in all my years that has anxiety and doesn't overthink. I don't even think it's possible. It's a key ingredient of anxiety. Doesn't mean that you have anxiety and overthink, but definitely, it doesn't mean, you can overthink and not have it bigger, but I've never met someone who had anxiety that doesn't overthink, ever, 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 ever. So if you find that sprinkled throughout, that's just a way of kind of knowing, look, if we really want to, mask.
And that feeding the indecisiveness as well. So it's just,
being able to back yourself. And that's the risk of then like recrimination if you make a bad decision. So that kind of like down that hill.
And it keeps me awake.
What was that? Sorry?
Keeps me awake, the overthinking.
And I don't know if anybody else gets the like I wake. Same thing, menopause flushes, so I'm up and down with waking, but I often wake up panicking, and it's like I'm not even 100% sure half the time what I'm panicking about, but I will just create things to panic about.
Okay, yeah, I get it. That's true anxiety. Like anxiety. By the way, one of the things you can do, and I know that this has worked for others before, if you wake up in the middle of the night, because I will tend to set you to sleep in my audios as you get in more and more into it, don't be surprised. Use me to set you to sleep if you need me. So I've had that sometimes. People wake up and it's like, I've had a client recently and she has a young baby and she was really suffering with insomnia, and I'm like, she said, you set me to sleep at 9:30. I said, why don't you get me to set you to sleep at 1:30? She goes, I hadn't thought about that. But it was so simple. It was so simple. And I'm like, yes. And that literally got her back to sleep. Your point, Caroline. Then she was waking up with more energy. She's able to face the day better. And she just that simple thing got her out of that like downward slump.
Right.
So simple idea like that. So
All right, thank you. Bye.
wonderful meet you. And, see you then. Take care.
Thank you, Anne. So nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.